Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Team Barca. Today we're going to be talking about the new right back transfer of Sergino Dest to Barcelona. Of course, it happened about a week ago now, and I've been thinking quite a lot about him as a player, the potential he has, and what role he should fill in our team for the future. In this episode, I want to go more into depth about what kind of player he is, what I think his role should be at the club at the moment. Of course, he's just 19 years old, soon turning 20, but I see a lot of potential in him, and a lot of people I've been talking to have asked me, do you think he could be the heir to Dani Alves, a player at least I've been missing for I don't even know how many years now. And I can see that he definitely has some potential and some traits that look a lot like Dani Alves when he arrived at the club. But let's start by going over his career, how he came to Ajax, and how it was actually possible for him to move to Barca in the first place. So Sergiño Dest, he's currently 19 years old. He's American, although he was born in the Netherlands and he's played there his entire life. He does play for the American national team. He joined the Almere City's youth academy back in 2012, and then he moved to the Ajax youth setup the same year. Before breaking into the first team, he was part of the under-17s, under-19s, under-23s as well. And he did play a combined 65 games for the Ajax youth academy, scoring 5 goals and providing 9 assists. So recently he was promoted to the senior team as an 18-year-old, where he's played 37 games, scoring 2 goals and providing an assist on 6 occasions. And of course, Barcelona this summer chose to sell Nelson Semedo, the 26-year-old right back who came from Portugal just a few years back. And I think overall that decision was fine. We got a decent amount of money for him. I think if it wasn't a period of chaos, I would say, in the transfer market due to the COVID-19 crisis, we could have had a bigger payment for him. But around 30 to 40 million euros is good enough for me. Of course, Sergiño Dest is not just going to go straight into the starting 11. He still has to compete with the likes of Roberto, who of course has been converted into this makeshift right back, and he's played there for the last around 5 or 6 seasons. But they do things not just slightly differently, they do things very differently. So Sergiño Dest is actually a left and right winger from when he was in the youth academy. He was converted into a right back, but has also played as a left back, which we saw in his debut against Seville for the last 20 minutes. And I think the versatility is also a trait that really is comparable to the versatility that Roberto has. So in that regard, they're kind of similar, but Sergiño Dest has some traits that are slightly different to Roberto. The first one I would mention is his pace. He's a very, very pacey guy. I saw the game he had against Alphonso Davies when the US played Canada. Had a lot of control in that game down the flank. But one of the traits, of course, Sergiño Dest has in terms of pace is not just his recover pace. So that would mean if he loses the ball, he has to track back, or another player from the team loses the ball and he has to track back and fill in the defensive role on either left or right back, preferably the right back, but also his speed with the ball. So that's one of the things, if in terms of wingers or fullbacks or attackers, if you're fast with the ball, you can create a lot more complications for the other teams. So throughout the years at Barca, we've seen players like Neymar, who doesn't really do a lot of defending, but everybody knows he's quite a fast player. But he looks faster with the ball compared to a lot of other wingers. The same goes for Messi. Messi's top speed really isn't that great anymore, but with the ball he can still outrun a lot of players. And that's because he has a lot of close control. The same goes for Sergiño Dest. And that in that regard, he's quite different to Sergio Roberto, who isn't really that fast with the ball, but without the ball, he looks all right. So his deep runs from the right back or the right midfield slot into behind the defensive lines of the other teams. I think it's one of the traits about Sergio Roberto that I really like. He continues to make those runs. He has excellent stamina. The same goes for Sergiño Dest, but he can just top it with the fact that he's also quite fast with the ball. The next trait that I would highlight, which you can see here in the numbers as well, is his dribbling ability. So young players, especially young fullbacks, modern fullbacks, they need to be able to have great physical attributes like pace, physical strength, but also to be able to defend in the air is quite a good trait to have as a fullback. It's not the most important, but of course it's always nice to see. You can mention players like Meunier, who went from PSG to Dortmund this season. He's very good in the air, and that can help cover on the back post, on crosses, corners, free kicks, and so on. But Sergiño Dest has the ability to also dribble with the ball. So we have the physical attributes, which are, he doesn't have a lot of strength, he definitely doesn't have a lot of defensive power in terms of aerial win percentage, but he does have the pace, but he also has the dribble ability. And the reason why the high degree of dribbling ability is so sought after in terms of fullback is because in modern football you really want to create situations where you're outnumbering the other team. So that would mean that if Jordi Alba and Dest, for instance, push up really high, you can create a situation where you have 3 forwards against 2 defenders if he can beat a man and put in a cross. So that's a very important trait which Sergio Roberto really doesn't have. Even Jordi Alba isn't really a very good dribbler at all. He's fast, so he can make those runs in behind, which we've seen a billion times. The interplay with him and Messi are great, but we need players to be able to beat a man or even 2 men. Nilson Semedo was actually quite good at this, but his dribbling, if we look at the stats, it's hard to see which one of these players are better at dribbling, but from my experience when I watched Nilson Semedo, his dribbling isn't up the field. It's when he has the ball and he has to get out of a difficult situation and then pass the ball backwards or sideways. So it's harder, in my opinion, to dribble forwards, running with the ball to try and create a situation on the right or the left flank where you can outnumber the opponent, than it is to dribble out of a situation to pass the ball backwards. So if you want to compare him to the all-time great Barca fullback Dani Alves, which is my favorite Barca player, coincidentally, what Dani Alves really had that a lot of other players didn't was not just in terms of pace, his physical stature. He wasn't too big, but he was always very aggressive on the ball. He never had a problem going in for a sliding tackle or defending deep. But he was such a clever player in terms of interplay, not just with Messi or Xavi on the right, but any forward that was really put in front of him. So he really turned the right back position into a wing back role, especially in the later years of his career when Messi moved in more centrally as the false 9, or just even playing on the right side, moving into the central area. He controlled that right flank all by himself. And that's exactly what we need Sergiño Dest to do in the future. We need him to have great stamina. He needs to be able to get up and down the flank without any issues. Defending, of course, is still the most important attribute in general if you talk about fullbacks, but for Barca it's quite different. You need to be able to outnumber the opponents on the flanks, because we have so many players that want to play centrally. So currently that would be Messi, Griezmann, Coutinho, even Ansu Fati in the future. But we also have other players. If players like Lautaro Martinez or Depay would arrive at the club at some point, they also want to play centrally. So you really need fullbacks to be able to create space in the wide areas. And I think Sergiño Dest has at least proved that he's able to do this. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do it for the next 10 seasons, just like Dani Alves did, but he definitely has the potential to be able to do that. And the last trait I want to talk about in terms of his ability is in terms of key passes. So a key pass, of course, is a pass that can lead to a goal or a big chance. Messi has always been great at these. Of course, back in the day with Iniesta and Xavi, they were excellent at this. But they play centrally from midfield, which is a place where it's easier to create an obvious chance to score, because you can pass through the lines, you can see the play in front of you. If you're playing as a right wing back, as I play myself, not at that high level, but still, it's harder to see the field because you're standing on the side. So you need to be able to cross the ball in front of forwards, but in behind the defensive lines, so they can make that run and get the ball and hopefully score a goal. So I think one of the traits that he needs to improve on is his crossing ability and do it while at speed. That's definitely the thing I miss most about Dani Alves, his ability to get the ball, win the ball maybe in a tackle, running up the field and then crossing the ball at high speed. That's definitely worth a lot to a team like Barcelona, where we don't really have the fastest forwards, so we need creative hubs created from the left back and the right back. But what happens to Sergio Roberto? Do we just slot in Sergiño Dest from the get-go? Should he play every single game? In my opinion, I think he should start a few games. Of course, the only way to learn the Barca style is to actually play in practice, play in the games. What Sergio Roberto has that Sergiño Dest obviously doesn't is his ability on the ball. He's excellent in short passing, he reads the play extremely well, and I think this could be an opportunity to move Sergio Roberto into the two-man midfield that we're currently playing with, either Frenkie de Jong, Busquets or Pjanic instead of Busquets, which seems to be the preferred starting lineup for Koeman currently. But I think a midfield of either Frenkie de Jong and Sergio Roberto in a two-man double pivot, or Pjanic or Sergio Roberto, something like that could be quite interesting. Sergio Roberto has a lot of stamina. He runs until his leg really can't run anymore, which is all game. He's very good on the ball, and just like Frenkie de Jong, he's excellent at running with the ball centrally, so he can break lines of the opposing team. But of course they have to change every now and then. Sergiño Dest of course can't play every single game, but for now I think he should have an opportunity to showcase what he can bring to the team. Alright guys, that was another episode for today. Thank you for watching. I hope what I'm saying makes some sense to you. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to the channel and I'll upload a new episode as soon as possible. Have a great day and enjoy the Spanish guitar on the way out.